In this arid, rocky land, where everything's poking you or trying to kill you, there is something of spiritual significance, a mystery, and a controversy. Let's find out what it is. The Topock Maze was estimated to be over 100 acres at one time. Today, all that has survived is less than 15% of that, less than 15 acres. The mystery of the Topock Maze, also known as the Mystic Maze, is found in the fact that we do not know who created it. Because if we knew who created it, we would have a more definitive answer to what its purpose is.
Okay, as we approach the maze, and it really isn't a maze as we know mazes to be. We can see furrows, basically where the rocks have been scraped into piles and there are furrows in between. Now, you can see in the distance, I'm not sure if you can see, but in the distance there are more of this maze. And in fact, this maze was estimated to be near 100 acres. Some say 50, other people say 100. Today, there's between 10 and 15 acres left, meaning that 10 to 15% of this original geoglyph is all that remains. Now, to the Mojave Indians, this is a sacred place. A sacred place, as I said before, because they believe that when people die, they come to this maze and it acts as a portal. So that portal would be a place where the good people would go to, the happy hunting grounds, for lack of a better way to say it, or the happy place, a place of bliss, where the bad people then would be eternally lost. Not too much different from what we know as heaven and hell, although they don't use those words to describe these places. Now, it was also said that when the warriors came back from war, that they also passed through this place because it had a purifying effect on them so that evil spirits could not follow them home after battle. Now, a photographer named Edward Curtis visited this site, made drawings of it, took pictures of it, and published it in his book in 1906. He's the one who named this the Topock Maze and the Mystic Maze. That's where the name came from. Before that, it was just a sacred place to the Mojaves, and they had a name for it, which meant in English, the gathering place. So, but what happened to it? Why is there only so much left?
What happened to it? What happened to this nearly 600-year-old maze, as estimated to be 600 years, was progress. First, the wagon roads came through here, and then after that, in 1882, the railroad came through and destroyed a huge part of it. Later, Route 66 passed through here, and then in the 50s, Pacific Gas and Electric came in here, destroying much of it, as well as with their multiple wells they had to put in. And then after that, Interstate 40. Progress. That's what destroyed much of the maze. Progress.
This site has significance to the Mojave tribe that is local here, as it is a sacred place to them. It also is a place where the UFO buffs, the people who are into UFOs, feel that this site is a waypoint for aliens who travel to this planet. Also, there are the spiritualists who feel that this place has a vortex and a portal and emits energy, spiritual energy, that they can feel. I personally can't feel anything, but then again, I might be numb to that sort of thing. Also, it is known to be a sacred place to the Mojaves. Now, as the Mojaves are concerned, this place had significance in that when warriors returned from battle, they would pass through this place, being purified by its location, as their evil spirits that would follow them from the battle would be purged off of them. It had this power, according to their tradition. It also was a place where people who are deceased or who have died would come to, and this separate the good from the bad. The good would go into the happy hunting grounds, for what we used to call it, or into a place of everlasting life, and the bad would be eternally lost, wandering forever. The significance of that makes it a pretty sacred place to the Mojave tribe. They would call this in English the gathering place. Other names were given to it, such as the Topock Maze and the Mystic Maze. Now, it is not a maze as we know it. It is a series of lines drawn into the ground. Some say that at one point it had geographical significance in that it was a intaglio, or it was made in the form of a geoglyph. Now, it is estimated, as I said, to be approximately 600 years old. No one knows for sure who made it. Even the Mojave tribe does not know who made it. There are some suggestions, which I'll talk about in a little bit in this video, on who they believe made it. But what is important right now is that it is sacred to the Mojave tribe. They see it as sacred. Now, not only was a lot of this, 80 to 90% of this maze, destroyed from progress and the different progress that I told you with railroads, the roads, and the PG&E plant, but into the north of us, on the other side of the I-40 up there, were other intaglios and geoglyphs, and they also were destroyed. Some 95%, 98% destroyed, some totally destroyed. There's just remnants that we see of those there, and I will try and post a picture that another YouTuber put on there, and I believe it was Nevada Drone had posted a couple of them that had been destroyed over there. He does great work, and I would recommend you go to his site. But in this case here, the Topock Maze, what is left of it is being protected. As I'll show you, it's been identified by California and nationally as a protected site. In 1978, a Arda M. Hansel proposed that these were prehistoric lines and acknowledged that they had spiritual significance to the Mojave tribe. In 2005, another study was done that confirmed this archaeologist's findings. But later, in 2011, a Miss Ruth Arlene Musser Lopez
published a study in 2011 that the Topock Maze was created by
ground scraping from the Mojave Indians who worked for the railroad in the 1880s to get gravel so that it could be used for the railroad around their tracks. She also added that she believed the site is built upon another geoglyph or petroglyph that is related to the other ones that are around here, because there are a lot of intaglios or geoglyphs in this area. Some that have been on the north side over here that have been completely destroyed. There's just the feet and a snake left on one, and a couple little morphic figures. But for the most part, they have been completely destroyed over the progress between the railroads, the highways, and the PG&E plant that's here. Now, Now, it's hard for me to imagine that if there was a ground art here, an intaglio or geoglyph here, that was sacred to the Mojave tribe, that they would take money and destroy it, making gravel roads for the railroad. So it's hard for me to imagine that they would destroy a sacred site like that, something that had been around for centuries. So I do find, because of that perspective of the Mojave tribe, I find that study to be hard to believe, honestly. I just don't see that the Mojave tribe would sell out something sacred for the railroad. It just seems to me this desert has all kinds of gravel everywhere else. They would have done that someplace else. So I don't see enough evidence to support that 2011 finding. What I think happened here is someone, at some time, a group of people created an intaglio using lines different than the other intaglios around it, and that over time and progress, that intaglio got destroyed, so we will never know what it was. What remains is just a series of lines that is known as the Topock Maze. You need to come out and check it, but be respectful, because it is sacred to the Mojave tribe. Thank you for joining us. Hey, if you like what you've seen, hit that like button. And if you want to see more of this kind of content, hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to share it with people who might want to see this too, who are not able to get out here. This channel is not monetized, and I don't see any reason for that to take place. It's a small channel, number one, and number two, we don't really need it to be. But we do go explore these places, and I love sharing this information with you guys. So, hey, share it if you want. All right? I'll see you on the next wild exploration. Later.
There's burrows out there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The little baby burrow over there. How cool is that?